Okay, so when you think about the most important issues, what's the one most important issue that is that someone in high school is dealing with today?
Oh, easy. I would say after just conversations with students, I asked one time a student, hey, if you were given a mic and you were to share with your friends on a platform, just an encouragement, how would you encourage them? And they said this: a lot of teenagers today are facing loneliness in their life. And so I think when it comes to the issues today, because of social media, because of the comparison game, looking at people and seeing what they're doing, I think a lot of teenagers are facing this idea that they don't have real, authentic friendships and community. So how to combat the idea of loneliness is getting plugged into community, church, and knowing that there's people in your life that are for you, with you, to walk beside you, even in the hardest moments. And when you're in your bedroom and you feel like nobody's there, the saddest, most depressed moments that you have, you can recognize that people are for you. And so I think the loneliness issue is something that needs to be addressed. And man, when you have Christian community, I think the biggest thing for teenagers today is Christian community. And we're seeing that back home in Oklahoma City, that students are finding community, and that's how it's leading them to find Christ too. Because there's something powerful about this idea of being a child of God in the family of God. So,
What would you say to somebody who is not a believer or not a Christian when it comes to community? Because are they able to be a part of a church community? Are they able to be a part of a community before they believe, or do they have to believe in a certain thing before they're a part of community?
Sure.
You know how that alternates back and forth, and people talk differently about that.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think biblically, as we look through the Gospels, there were many sinners that belonged before they believed. And they were a part of this community following after Jesus, the crowds even. And Jesus, even sitting on a boat, teaching the crowds, looked at them with compassion, right? They're still a part. And that's the same thing when it comes to any church. Their mission should be, hey, we exist for those not yet here. And when you come here, you get to be a part of what God is doing here. And there's no, I'm reminded too, there's an old church in Boston that my wife and I visited. Back in the day, you would have to rent out a pew to sit in church every morning. And that is everything, I believe, against what real Christianity is about. It's about inviting people who don't know Jesus. It doesn't matter their belief system, background, ethnicity. They can still belong before they believe. And I think that's the root of it, is loving your neighbor. It's all about love. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, I would say that. Now, when it comes to this idea of unity, right, the Holy Spirit of God's got to get a hold of your life to be united with other believers. So I would say that, man. Yeah, everybody's invited, and you can belong.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, and with that, could you define loneliness? Because it's talked about all the time,
Yeah.
I think, and people have different, they have different opinions on loneliness. They even have different opinions on community, because a lot of these things that we've already said, they could be taken in a cliche way.
Mm-hmm.
It could be surface level, and I know you're not talking about that. So could you define loneliness? And then I would love for you to do this. I want to try something, all right? We all know, because there's a lot of people here right now, there's about 35 of us in this room right now, so this is our largest live audience, so this is sick. We all know that there are different phases of loneliness. You can be alone but not be alone, right? You could be by yourself but not be lonely. You can be in a room full of a lot of people but feel the loneliest you've ever felt. So we understand this. But could we all for a second, I want you to think about what you, when you're lonely, would need to hear. Speak to that person. So define loneliness.
Okay.
Two things.
Yeah.
Define loneliness, and then speak to the person that's lonely right now. What would you say to them?
That's good. I think the best definition of loneliness is, first off, I want to say this before I say that. I believe loneliness oftentimes can be a lie.
I like it when you like take a step back because I feel like you get really like you're like, ooh, light bulb. I'm a professor. I'm about to like.
Yeah.
I love it. Keep
Take
going,
some
keep
notes.
going.
Take some notes.
Yeah. Everybody, get your pen out
That's
right
right.
now.
That's right. So I think loneliness, first off, can be a lie. Oftentimes, when you're around people, right, and you feel like the definition, nobody is for you. I think when it comes back to this idea of loneliness, we come to a place of a misconception, of a false belief that nobody's for you. And even though you've got a family you live with, even though you've got friends you hang out at school, like you've got people in your life, but then you come to this state of belief, nobody's for me. Yeah. I think that's what the root of loneliness is. And that is a lie. So here's what I would say to the person who's feeling lonely. Embrace this feeling and address it with pushing through. And I tell students this all the time that are getting involved in the church. You've got to fight for friendships. Like, friendships aren't just going to just come to you. Right. If you want deep, solid community that's going to hold you accountable, but also going to encourage you, you aren't just going to receive it. You've got to actually put some work into it. You know what happens when teenagers today, when they feel as if they can get vulnerable, transparent, and honest with other people? Life change happens. And you know what also happens? Loneliness is removed. Because friendships can exist at a place where there's authenticity, and there's transparency, and there's just real life on life happening. So that's what I would say. You've got to embrace the feeling and address it and fight for your friendships.
Okay, so I agree with you. And here's what I would even just like, if I could add like a tag.
Come on.
I think the tag is you will find what you are. So if you are a friend, guess what you'll probably find? A few people that are friends.
Yeah.
That back to you. Because I think reciprocation has everything to do with a healthy relationship. So if I want a healthy relationship with you, I reciprocate what you give to me. I want to give it back to you.
Yeah.
What I give to you, you want to give it back to me. And we can go together that way because it's a true team effort.
It's good.
You know, like life is a team sport. And I love the line that you just had. You said a lot of times loneliness is a lie. And I think, could you add to that? How or why does it become a lie? Because if we think about this, we have, there's, 30 plus of us in here, and my phone's blowing up with terrible questions, by the way.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
I'm getting the worst questions, which is hilarious. Like, I keep, laughing. So what's happening is they're texting questions, the audience is, and we're talking about some of those that are good. So shout out to you that you're doing a great job. But like someone asked me, how tall is Trevor? I'm like, oh man, we know I'm short. Okay, we don't have to bring it up.
That's amazing.
What is going on here? Okay, which is hilarious. But could you talk about that lie for a second?
Yeah.
Where does that lie come from?
Okay, I would say, we have a father of lies. Let's go back to the truth. Man was not created to be alone, Genesis. God saw Adam and he said, hey, he needs a helper. We were made for community. So I think if the enemy wants to get to us, he's going to go back to the origin of how mankind was supposed to be created to live in community. Thinking, hey, if I can separate man to be alone, you say, I believe this, isolation is a trap. And I mean, you look through scriptures, where did Satan have his biggest stronghold? It's with those who were separated from community. You think about the man that Jesus came on the island, and all of a sudden a man approaches him, demon-possessed, legions of demons. He was living among the tombs. He was alone. And he broke into chains, but he was separated from community. The enemy does his best work when we're not in community. Because when we're in community, there's accountability, and there's an opportunity for us to live the life that we're called to live, the faith that we're called to live out. So I think that the lie is actually combating the original truth that you were made to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and that includes being around the people that believe the same that you do, that are for you and want the best for you. So I think that's where it goes back to.
So for someone that's here right now, they just texted and they said, I actually feel very alone. That's one person in the room. And this person said, give me 3 steps to get out of that loneliness and that feeling.
Okay, that's good. Well, I would say this. Those who feel alone, I believe this, that you're not alone, actually. If you feel alone, you're not alone. Because I believe there's more in this room that feel lonely.
Yeah.
So I would say this step-by-step approach, if we're going that route with this loneliness. Number 1, this is a hard one, but if you get past number 1, you can get to number 3. Tell somebody. It just starts with honesty. Who's a friend in your life that you can just say, hey, I just need more from this friendship and relationship. I feel like I'm not a part of our circle anymore, or I don't hang out enough with people, and that gives me life. If you tell somebody and speak up about it, I believe you could stop at step 1, you'll be good, right? But step 2 is going to take some consistency. Community, if it's found in consistency, what you're going to see is the life-giving moments happen week after week. Now, if you do it for 1 week and then the next 3 weeks out of the month, you're alone, you're not going to have a good month. But when you do life with people, I believe that when you do life with people, the fellowship, if we're going to the original language of even the Bible, fellowship, the koinonia, would talk about carrying one another's burdens. You can't carry somebody's burdens if you're only seeing them once a month. And if you consistently carve out the time in which you were made for community, God's going to use it. So number 1, tell someone. Number 2, be consistent about it. And number 3, get the most out of it. Like if you are having friendships and circles that you are just surface level in, there's I heard it said one time that in relationships you can go deeper. So if you have coffee with someone, like that's level 1. Level 2 is in the church world, if you begin to worship with someone or have a Bible study with someone. Level 3, you want to go deeper in a relationship? Suffer with someone. And man, you've got to get to a point where surface level relationships aren't a part of your vocabulary. Like you just want to open up and be transparent and say, hey, I'm willing to do life for real with you. So I would say in the most simplest form, those are some steps you could begin to take even today to fight against this loneliness factor.
Okay, so that I've heard that a few times, and there's a few questions in here that I'm getting. They're seeking and they're looking for friends. They're looking for this level of friend. So what if they can't seem to find friends? I think if you can't seem to find a friend that's going where you're going, I don't know, you may need to be clear about where you're headed. Because I think some of us are a little maybe too generic on what we're looking for, and you're not specific enough.
That's good.
Because doing life together, okay, what does that even mean? I think I know what you're meaning, but what does that really mean? Here's one thing that means. That means that you actually have a direction with where you're headed. Not you know what you want to do with your life, but you know where you want to go with your life. Those are 2 completely different things. One is job-related. The other is the type of life you want to live. And if you are looking for a friend and you're having a difficult time finding them, I bet you have too many boundaries on what that friend looks like.
Yeah, that's good.
Wait, you mean boundaries? No. I don't mean dating boundaries because we're going to go to that question next. So get your questions ready for that one because we're getting a lot of dating questions.
I love it.
Because I think a lot of times we try to mask loneliness and we think we're going to find community through dating somebody. That we think that's going to solve our relationship problem.
Wow.
But that doesn't really land. So I want to encourage you with this. Stop limiting what they're going to look like.
That's good.
I think we limit the way people look and the type of relationship we can have with them by what they look like.
Wow.
Don't you see that regularly though? It's like, oh no, they've got to have this type of, they got to be in this type of friend group. They've got to look this type of way. They've got to be this age. And we do that with the males looking for male relationships and friendships, females looking for female friendships, not even going across
Right.
and like dating someone else or having a co-ed type of group. I'm talking about you think they've got to look like, sound like, be like you. But in a lot of ways, you're limiting what God's trying to do in and through your life when you do that.
Yeah, that's good.
So what would you say to someone who is, they're saying they're seeking, but they're not finding a friend?
Wow, that's good. I'm reminded of Scripture.
You won't.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22, all the twos. It says, so flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. I believe this. If you're having a hard time finding friends, but if you know the path and direction you want to seek after, right?
I like it when you point at me like that. Keep going.
Come on, you were passionate about it. But you had a good word. You got to know what you want. The clarity is king, right? But if you know you want to pursue a life chasing after the Lord and what He has for you, what's going to happen is you do it alongside people, and you're going to be able to look to your left and your right and see people in your life that God's put there already. It's going to be easy for you.
I mean, yes. Keep going.
So
You had something else to say.
I know it's a complication.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I think we're just so pushed back with these high expectations we have, and we want perfectionism in our relationships, our friendships, in which God calls us to pursue Him alongside broken people, not perfect people, broken people. So who are people that God's already put in your life that you could see yourself running the race alongside? And that's what I would say about that.
You know, like, if you're bored with the person sitting next to you or the people in your life, it's probably because you're boring.
Wow.
Yikes.
Is that a hot take?
Yikes.
That's good.
That's a hot take. Well, here's why. If everyone is broken,
Yeah.
if we're created in the image of God,
Yeah.
if we all have uniqueness and value, well, guess what? If you can't find it in the person next to you or the person in your life, then you're not being that person in life.
That's good.
Because someone who is valuable and understands their value, guess what they do? They look for it in others.
Wow.
They look for it in others. And guess what? Then I don't need to have somebody who loves everything that I love. I just love them right where they are, and they will reciprocate the same way for me.
Okay. So I think you're hitting on something really good right now. We live in a consumer-type culture. And I think it even goes back to the relationships and friendships we have. We want something out of it instead of putting something into it.
Yeah.
And I think you're hitting on something really good for teenagers to hear right now. Like, in your relationships that God has given you, what are you doing to foster and cultivate something special out of it? That's really good.
You become more interesting when you pull out the interests in others.
Wow.
Because then you help them. You don't become the smartest person in the room. You make them feel like the smartest person in the room.
Come on, y'all need to write this down. This
And so
is good.
What changes then is when you start serving others, then they want to be around you. They don't just think that you're awesome. They feel awesome because you have led them to
Wow.
the awesomeness that's in them.
Yeah.
And that changes everything. So what about dating? So I'm lonely. I should just date somebody.
Dating is not the fix-all. It's not the cure.
No, they'll complete me, man. Come on. That's what he said right there.
Yeah.
That's
That's amazing.
No, he didn't say that. I just was saying he said that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's good.
Somebody said that.
Hey, now they're interested.
I know.
They're paying
It's like
attention.
everyone's trying to pick out who said that.
Okay.
Well, he did say that. So they're the 50-50 now.
Yeah. I would say here's a misconception that we can combat this loneliness factor with one relationship. And I hate to be cliche, but honestly, the only way you do it is with the greatest relationship. You got to have a relationship with Jesus. And in the presence of Jesus, you find the joy, the comfort, the peace. And in the presence of a community of followers following Jesus, you find the hope and friendships and community that will help this loneliness. So it won't be found in dating. it doesn't satisfy because, whether it's trying to have temporary satisfaction with this relationship, who's to say, that person, they're not always going to be there for you. What if you break up? Then what happens, right? The lonely. So I would say
It gets awkward real quick.
It gets awkward real quick. So no, it won't be found in dating.
Okay. Well, but would you say that? I got a few hot takes right here that people are looking for. The squad is wondering. Okay. Well, does that mean that there's somebody that completes me? For example, does your wife complete you?
Does my wife complete me? I would say, this is wow, great question. now they're all in. No, I would say when it comes to this idea of completing me, Bailey and I, we're in a covenant with the Lord.
I knew you were going to go with a C. You're like a good pastor. You go with the alliteration.
I have to.
It's good.
The best way you remember things, I feel.
I agree.
Without the Lord, I'm not complete. I have to go back to biblically the foundation of my beliefs. My wife doesn't complete me, but I know this, that God has given Bailey to me so that I can leave and cleave, right? She's my helper. And I would say it's a union that we have together, that I'm only complete, that Bailey only completes me because the Lord.
Do you think the word's compliment, not complete? She compliments you?
Yeah.
Like you can help each other,
Right.
and you can go more together because she compliments you.
Yes.
To use another C for us.
Okay. I like compliments.
Because she's not the same as you, right?
Right.
She's way different than you.
Way different.
But that makes you a good team.
Yeah.
Because what you can bring to the table is different than what she brings to the table, which makes the table full. Because aren't we looking for more fullness?
Yeah.
We're looking for more satisfaction?
Yeah.
So do you think teens should even date at all?
Whoa, why are you giving me that question? My opinion.
Ooh, hot take. Anthony, hot take right now. Come on.
Y'all ready for this? The honest truth. Should teenagers even date at all? I would say, as someone who married their high school sweetheart, I think I got a say in this. I think it's okay for teenagers to date, but I think too many teenagers date, quotations, right, for the wrong reasons. If we're going back to my story, I did not date for the purpose of marriage, but by the grace of God, God put Bailey in my life, and afterwards, the Lord got a hold of our heart and created this, I feel as if this inseparable bond between us because of what the Lord did in both of us. That kind of gave us the peace to pursue a marriage. But I didn't do it the right way at the beginning. And I feel like too many teenagers, because I was one of them, date for the wrong reasons. Can teenagers date today?
What are those reasons?
Well, honestly, if we're going, top reason is sexual immorality. I want pleasure. I want temporary satisfaction. That's the wrong reason to date. If you're looking for fulfillment in someone else other than Jesus, you're doing it wrong. And that's what teenagers are doing today. They're looking for someone to satisfy this desire within them, this sinful desire within them. And then, oftentimes, what do we see? One and done, And then we see this, because of the sin, it does more harm than good. So, that's one of the reasons. We go back to loneliness. They're dating because I just need somebody in my life. They don't even care about the person. So there's no genuine care. There's no considering someone more significant than themselves because it's all about them. There's multiple. We can go down a list of wrong reasons why people date. But if I were to give the encouragement to the teenager, because I'd never tell them, hey, you can't date as a teenager, because I was one of them, right? But if I were to give encouragement and wisdom on the other side now, I would say waiting is best, because what's happening in the culture today is we care more about the worldly relationships than the relationship with the one who created the world. Write it down. That's good. Okay? So if we were to pursue Jesus and what he has for us and become the man or woman that he wants us to be in marriage one day and not worried about the dating, I think that would be better off for their marriages. I think divorce rate would drop because we weren't worried about teenage dating. We were worried about Jesus. So that's my encouragement I would give.
Okay, so you talk about worry. What should we? You just said, talk about, worry, but more about your relationship with Jesus, or focus on that is really what I feel like you're saying is like, hey, focus here before you focus on this. And I think with dating, if I could just encourage everyone in the room as well, because we're looking for dating, you're gonna have a difficult time finding that person for you if you again don't have a direction for your life, because if you end up dating somebody, they'll start determining the direction that you are going, because they're the person closest to you that you think fulfills you, that brings satisfaction. So what their words end up doing to you is affecting where you're headed. And so the type of people that you surround yourself will really do affect where you're going in life. Just like what we're going to be talking about tonight. The voices that we let come into our minds, that we let come into our lives, will determine the direction of our lives.
Yeah.
You don't determine your direction a lot of times. It's the people that you determine and that you choose and decide who's going to come around you.
Wow.
They determine it.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's who do I want in my life? They will add to the direction of it. And so you could be the smartest person in the room. You surround yourself with people that only tear you down and pull you down. Guess what's going to happen in your life? You're going to get down. You will get lonely. You will end up in a place that you don't want to be.
Wow.
But because of those that you surround yourself with. So do you even believe in soulmates?
What a question. Soulmate, soul tie, all the things.
I would say that those are probably different. So maybe go soulmate first.
Okay. So I would say this. God, in his interest for the world, when it comes to this idea of like the one for you, I think God is more obsessed with his own glory and the obedience from his people, and not so much that there's somebody out there for you. Now, I do believe that God orchestrates, and in his sovereign will, he can make shift for you to meet somebody. I believe that God has control over all that. But when it comes to this idea of soulmates, I'll be honest with you, I just don't know. But at the same time, I think when there's a covenant that's formed between man, woman, and God, then that's what glorifies him.
If we're using the Bible, I don't think it's biblical. I don't think anywhere in Scripture does it say that there's a soulmate for you. So if everyone's uniquely and wonderfully made, and if people are valuable, everyone, what is love? Is love something we fall into, or is love something that we choose into? And would you rather have somebody be forced into your life, or would you rather be chosen and wanted and desired? Man, I think you determine what you love. You determine who you love. And so if we're really looking at soulmates, if we're really looking at is there a one, I think everyone is someone. And so where are you headed? What type of life do you want to live? And you may have feelings, but you also get to choose when you fall too. Because you can get to the edge of the cliff and decide, hey, I'm not jumping into this because of this reason. Or you can have somebody push you, and you can feel like you're falling in love, but really you were pushed. You were forced because of what you surrounded yourself with.
Yeah.
And so I just don't love, I think it's actually more romantic to say, I actually choose you, than it is to say, oh, I'm falling for you. No. I'm choosing to fall in love with you because of who you are, who God has made you to be, and the uniqueness that you bring to the table. And because I'm choosing you, I'm going to fall in love with you every day, but I'm not just going to fall because I was pushed. I'm going to fall because I jump.
Wow. That's
and
good.
so then how does that feel? Then it's like, oh my gosh, it's a choice. And then I want, and then you're wanted. And then it changes everything for us. So that's my hot take.
That's so good, dude.
That's my hot take
That's
on
awesome.
that.
Isn't that awesome?
That's my hot take on that. And I think our wives would appreciate that.
Sure.
Is that they were chosen. Not I was forced.
Right.
Not there was no other option.
Wow.
It's that, no, out of all of the options, you. Because of this. And I can be explicit on the romantic relationship that I want with you because of the intentionality that I'm thinking through why you matter to me. And then it's like, oh my gosh, did we just write a romantic novel or I don't know? Is this like a book? I don't know. Let's chill out on that. But so if someone does choose to date, okay, they're in high school, they're here, and what are the two things or one thing that you think is the most valuable thing for them to wrestle with before they date?
Okay. I can do two things, you said?
Yeah. Oh, you could do more. I was just trying to limit it because earlier you were stressing out. I'm like, oh, there's so many things, and I was like, don't stress. Just get,
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want you to stress. You're too awesome to stress, Anthony.
I don't stress. Number one, don't compromise your values.
Okay. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
One, don't compromise your values.
Yeah, just if you have the boundaries, don't cross them. Number two, okay. So something in relationship to pursue my wife in the latter part of the dating years, right? Because we didn't do it right at first, but through the grace of God, God got a hold of us. And what I learned in the latter part of my dating, 4.5 years before I proposed.
4.5?
Yep, 4.5 years.
Gosh.
High school sweethearts, right?
She was worried. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I proposed when first year in college for her.
Oh.
So I had to wait.
Whoa, that was early.
Yeah.
You needed to wait 4.5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Proud of you for waiting.
Thank you. So what I learned though is latter part of dating is I loved who she was in here, her inner beauty, the character she had. Too many of us make the wrong decision about dating. I'm about to give you a hot take.
I love it. Keep going.
Wrong decision about dating because we're more worried about the outer appearance than the inward beauty of the heart. And if we would focus more on the character, I'm not saying outward appearance is bad at all because my wife is beautiful. And she's going to watch this and she's going to love it, right? but my wife is beautiful. But what I learned through our dating is when the Lord got a hold of her heart and she started having these values and this integrity, I love that. And I believe that's the most important thing we need to see in the relationships. So don't compromise your values. And guess what? You don't have to worry about number one, because if you seek out number two, the inward beauty and the character, then you're not going to compromise.
Also, if you know your values, then it doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah, that's good.
Like if you know your values and you know how valuable you are and you have character that you won't compromise, guess what? It doesn't matter how old you are. Then you may need to wait. Guess what? You have a filter now. You may need to, you can go ahead and start dating. Why? Because you have a filter.
Yeah.
I think you may have one more.
One more thing I would say, and it was we were driving down the road one day. This is early on in marriage, and we're trying to know each other, figure each other out. One of the days, she didn't put on makeup, and just had the moment, hey, I don't think you think I'm pretty without makeup. Just an honest moment as a young bride, and, we're trying to figure this thing out, but I told her, just a reminder to her is, Bailey, it's not the makeup in which I think you're beautiful. It's the character qualities within you that make up who you are that makes you beautiful. And if we will worry more about who they are and not about what they look like, I promise you're going to find someone who values the things you value and that you can align with and have a beautiful covenant with one day. So
I just got 3 people ask me this question. 2 young males and 1 female.
Okay.
What if no one wants me?
Wow, what if no one wants you?
3 people asked that in this room.
Let me just say this. Don't believe the lie, because we're going back to loneliness, I know, but there's people for you. There's people for you. And can I tell you this as a teenager? As a 15, 16, 17-year-old, do not worry about who's out there for you when the focus should actually shift to be about the purpose that you have in this world. And I promise you this, the purpose is not finding a relationship. The purpose is knowing the Lord and making him known. And if you would understand that needs to be the direction of your life, then you're going to go back to this idea of there's going to be people alongside you that you can build these authentic relationships with. And when I feel like when you're not worried about that, who's for me? What if there's no one for me? You know, I feel like the moment we find ourselves content not knowing it is also the moment God puts someone in our life that we begin to have this unique relationship with, that maybe we pursue it in a deeper way. So family, friends, value those things. Don't value what other people think about you and if there's someone for you, because I believe there is. I believe there is.
So it's tough because I got two versions of this question. Well, so like, what makes me more attractive then? Because family and like job and finances, that's maybe more of like in the future for them specifically. But like, talk about attraction. So what makes someone more attractive then? Because how can I attract the right people? How can I be the right person? And what's more attractive? Because some of us need a little coaching in the room, you know, on attraction. That's what they're telling us right now. Coach me up, Anthony, on attraction. I mean, what makes me more attractive?
Yeah.
Should I lift a little bit more? Should I get a haircut?
Okay.
Maybe deodorant? I don't know. Like, should I shower more often? Maybe eat better? I don't know. Like, what does that look like for you?
I feel like they're on the edge of their seat right now, just waiting for this coaching.
No, this is great. I need the hot take. This is hilarious.
Sure. I mean, health and fitness is a great way to start, you know.
I know you recently went on a little health kick yourself,
Yep.
trying to keep the romance alive. I love it.
I love it. Well, I do want to take care of myself because I want to give Bailey my best. I mean, sure, that is the root of it, but at the end of the day, too, I want to be a healthy man for my family, you know. But anyways, on the attraction idea.
Well, so here's like the question.
Sure.
Do looks matter at all then?
Yes.
Because what we're talking about is, see, there it is. You just got it. We're done. We're into the podcast right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Matter.
Okay. So help us navigate. Okay, the character piece, the value piece, in the middle of the looks.
Okay. So on a balance beam, obviously character like outweighs the attraction, but at the same time, take care of yourself. I mean that's the best way I can put it. You can't change the way you look, but you can be intentional with the way you live and the way you take care of yourself and the way you pursue a healthy lifestyle that makes you the best you can be. I'm not all about be the best version of yourself, right? But if you want to pursue a relationship, you better give somebody your best. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what I can give you. I just down the attraction route. I mean, I don't know anything more than that, honestly.
Well, okay, but I think you do know more than you're putting.
Then pull
on.
it out of me.
Okay, for example, okay, what's attractive? Someone who's attractive is going somewhere with their life.
Okay, good.
That makes somebody more attractive.
Agreed.
Hey, you have dreams, aspirations, and you're on your way there. Can I tell you what I think, and everyone here, what I think the number one thing to staying married and to being in high-quality relationships is, and being in a high-quality community? I think there's one thing that's, like, really core, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
It's a willingness and a desire to keep growing.
Wow.
If somebody's willing to grow, if somebody is going somewhere with their life, then guess what? Then they're going to have the humility to say, maybe I don't know. Maybe I can grow. Help me understand this about myself a little better. I want to understand you a little bit better. And what I have found is when my friendships or my marriage begins to struggle a little bit is when I think that I have it all together and I'm where I want to be.
Wow.
And so if I have a willingness to grow, then I can actually go somewhere.
That's good.
With that person or with the person that I want a relationship with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a job, it's a friend, it's my wife, it's my kids. A willingness to grow reveals the humility you need to actually do what it takes to get to where you want to go.
Wow. So you would say then this: pride defeats us.
Oh yeah, it crushes all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, ego.
Ego.
And guess what? Every atheist can have that conversation. I can have a conversation with that person about that exact thing. Because the principles that you're talking about that are biblical actually translate and help us have the best life that is closest to freedom as possible in the world. And we can test and see, is your relationship with God legit? Well, let me start talking to God. Let me start putting these principles into action. And then from there, I may end up realizing that some of this stuff is legit. I would like to know more about Jesus. I'd like to figure this thing out. I'd like to figure out what freedom really looks like, and then we can help people actually take a step into freedom. I think what we need is a world full of believers that are in high school that actually live that way.
Yeah.
And let's just not, okay, you don't believe, just say it. Just say you don't believe.
Yeah.
By the way, we need communities where we have the freedom to say, hey, you know what? I don't believe in Jesus. Why? Because it takes every single one of us to say, I don't believe, and have trust and relationship with other people that do believe, so that we can say, hey, you know what? Would you help me begin to believe?
Okay. Well, let me stop you there. Since you have way more wisdom, you're a little bit down the road further than I am. Yes.
No, not true.
Speak to the person in the room, the teenagers in the room that need to hear this, because right now we live in a judgmental type state of culture where when someone admits that and is honest about it, we just shun them. So speak to the person in the room. How do we go about, pursuing that type of healthy way of receiving these beliefs and ministering or even helping the person? How do we do that?
You guys will get to see this tonight, actually, because I'm going to reveal a lot of wrestling that I've had with, okay, how do you actually hear from God? What are we talking about? Is it writings on the walls? That feels weird, That happened in the Bible. But it also happens in like horror movies too. So I'm like, I'm not, how do we know? It's oh my gosh, how is this supposed to be? And so we will talk about that. But like, to be frank in here, I was bored following Jesus. Why are you bored following Jesus? And so it was in the middle of my boredom. And, man, am I going to commit my life to this thing?
Yeah.
Am I going to really commit my life to following Jesus? Because here's what commitment looks like. And then guess what? Here's what culture, society, people, maybe even evil or things that aren't really for you, they just want to take from you. So they don't actually want you to feel the extremities, the extremes of the fullness of life.
That's good.
Why? Because of my confidence. And so if you're a confident follower of Jesus, guess what? You should be able to cry with people.
Wow.
You should be able to celebrate with people. Yeah. And guess what? You live in the mediocre in the middle so much, and you are tired, and you're burned out, and you're wanting more. Well, guess what? You're the one putting limitations on how you live.
Oh my goodness, that's
no
good.
one else.
That's good.
You're putting limitations on it. So you're struggling with walking the streets. You're struggling with reaching out to people. You're struggling with, you want stuff or tasks to do, but God's not made you for task completion. He's made you for life transformation. He's made you for freedom. He's made you to feel. He's made you to enjoy. He's made you to celebrate. But guess what? You're bored out of your mind.
Wow.
And you don't actually have anything to celebrate. And that's exactly where people start taking from you, because you're like, I will pay you. I will give you my time. I will give you my thoughts. I will give you my energy.
Yeah.
I'll give you my paycheck to wear those clothes, to think those thoughts, to try and get on that social media platform, to help you make me feel good.
Yeah.
And in reality, all they're doing is just taking from you. And so when we flip the script and we start realizing that the mediocrity is what's crushing our lives, and the middle ground. No, what does somebody do that has the confidence that actually lives a life that says they believe what they believe? Live a life that demands explanation is my favorite quote right now.
That's good.
Your life doesn't demand explanation. All right, so what would a life that is a senior in high school, a junior in high school, a sophomore, a freshman, what would a life look like that is one of those that demands explanation?
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like. It looks like you actually having empathy for something and someone and serving them where they are.
Wow.
And then you will find a passion that cannot be squelched is the word, put out is the word. There's no amount of water that can quench that fire. And then you become unstoppable because you're serving people like you've never served them before. And then you don't see limitations or boundaries anymore. You only see the limitlessness that God has for you.
Yeah.
I need to say that word correctly.
That's good.
And we put limitations on ourselves. And we let culture and other people put limitations on ourselves.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's how you fit in.
Okay, so now I'm interviewing you. That's really good, dude. That's awesome.
Sorry, that was a rant.
No, man.
And
Wasn't
I
that
could say
good?
those-
That
I
was
could say
awesome.
those words better. My enunciation needs to be.
That was worth the
fixed a little bit,
podcast
but-
episode, by the way. Thanks for joining. That's awesome.
No.
Wow, that was powerful, dude.
Well, man, I think this. I think what you bring to the table and what you're wanting for them is meaningful, but they don't understand it. I don't think you guys really understand what he wants for you. He's trying his best to help you understand it.
Yeah.
When you look at these 30, 25, whatever, what do you actually want for them?
Here's what I say, and I believe it. These young people, they're going to change the world. And I believe that this next generation can lead to the next great awakening. Because sold out followers of Jesus, we've seen it before in Acts, they can change the world and flip it upside down. What I want for them is that they would pursue the Lord and be obedient to God's will. Too many people are asking, what is God's will for my life? God's will for your life is to obey God's word. And to give your life over to him and be sold out. And so at the end of the day, I want young people to come to a place where they can lay their head on the pillow and say, I gave all to Jesus today. And wake up tomorrow and say, Jesus, I want to do the same again.
You know, for you to lay your head on the pillow, you actually got to be tired.
Come on.
I don't think they're actually tired.
Yeah.
I think that they may get tired, maybe physically, or they should go to bed, but I don't think they're tired. I don't think that they're really worn out.
Yep. And I heard it like this one time. When Jesus comes back, are we going to be sweaty because of all the good works we've been doing? Are we working? Or are we just resting? Because there's a day of rest, right? But you got to work to get to the day of rest. And we need young people who want to get their hands dirty and roll their sleeve up and guess what? Assume a towel like Jesus did and put the work in. So yeah, I think it comes back to this idea of their identity, that they are a servant of the Lord.
Ooh, I got a question.
Okay.
Who here wants to know what they should do with their life? Raise your hand. Okay. Most of us. 98%.
Yeah.
Raise their hand. Okay. Don't expect to get what you should specifically do until you do what God has called everyone to do.
Wow.
And for me, man, I think specifics come when we start not worrying about the specifics for us and we just do what we know we are all called to.
Okay. So do we go down the rabbit trail of saying when we become obedient to the generic will of God, the specific comes because in obedience we hear the voice of God, right? Like we hear God talking to us most when we're living a life without sin. And when we're just obedient, then God gives us the clarity we need to make that next step. So, I appreciate you saying that because at the end of the day, the foundation for this is if they love me, they would obey my commands. And if we just obey, then we'll know the clarity.
And the main word in that statement is if. Because you want that for everyone here,
Yeah.
but we know
Yeah.
that statistics say that not everyone's going to step into that. A lot of you are waiting for somebody else to step into it. And so there's got to be somebody that goes first. Somebody that says, actually, I'm going to be the tip of the spear, so to speak. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to let everyone know what freedom really looks like and feels like.
Wow.
And so it's going to be the person that believes that and sees that and wants that now. It's not something we have to wait on. And so you may be tired, and you may be struggling with this trip. You need to go ahead and say, I'm struggling with this trip. I'm tired. Because on the other side of that wrestling is when you actually win.
Wow.
The other side of that wrestling. Because there's a person that's listening to this. There's so many of my friends who don't believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm trying to live a life that reveals that to them. Why? Because I don't change them. I don't save them.
Yep.
There's not enough convincing that I can do for them to give their life to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's not my aim. My aim is to live a life where they want to figure out who he is to them so that they can actually come to know him on their own and with him involved.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's like, I don't change people, but my life being changed reveals the truth about who he is.
Wow, that's good.
So then they can read the Bible through them looking at my life. And then they may want to know what he says about himself. Not somebody else's opinions, but what he says about himself. Because I think we take other people's advice too much. And we take other people's opinions about Jesus too much. And we should probably just see what he says about himself and then put that into play. Like read John chapter 10, the whole thing. Jesus says he's breaking all of the rules. And he is literally saying, here's who I am.
Yep.
He says, I am multiple times. And he helps us really clearly in a metaphorically way, in a storytelling way, help us see like, oh, here's who I am. Here's what I'm about. And here's what's up against you. If you want me to help you, I'd love to.
Yeah.
But if you want me to not help you, that's your choice. And that's what we're helping people really navigate is there's probably, I would say this, there's probably 3 of you. That's probably it, max, statistically speaking. There's 3 of you out of 30. Why? Because 10% of the people actually put into play what's right in front of them and listen and actually take other people's advice and get after what God has for them. 10%.
Wow.
So if there's 30 people here, there's 3 of you. I'm just being real. There's only 3 of you that are going to really get what God has for you on this trip.
Come on.
And actually put it into play, statistically speaking. But 3 of you can change the whole face of the county of Canadian. Is that right?
Yeah,
Canadian?
Canadian County, yeah.
It's the strangest name of a county
Yeah,
in Oklahoma City.
Not my favorite.
But so I love it. I'm not hating. I'm just saying it's a little strange.
Sure.
But there's 3 of you. And it's just whether you or not that you will say, hey, I'm in. I'm all in. And from there, you guys will have a movement on your hands because you already do.
Right.
And then more will fall in line and say, actually, I want that too. And then it's going to be unique for everyone, but there's going to be unity involved in everyone. And then don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect it to be easy. Last question, we'll wrap up.
Okay.
When they, us, all of us here,
Yeah.
when we think about today and what's at stake, how can we process the next 12 hours? And how do we process it? And how do we keep taking steps into what God has for us today?
Yeah, it comes down to the root of urgency. You see, the gospel brings us to a place where we understand that it has a timeline. The good news is only good news if it gets there on time. And for us to be believers, to know that Jesus came to die for our sins, but on the 3rd day he rose from the grave to save us and to forgive us of sin, we have to also have the understanding that he is coming back the same way he left. So anyone that does believe gets to be a part of something really special one day, heaven, of course, which what's so beautiful about heaven is you get to spend eternity with the presence of God. So I think in the next 12 hours, we have to come to an understanding that our lives, at the end of it, you have 2 destinations, heaven or hell, and the people we come in contact with are the same way. So there needs to be an urgency in our conversations today and how we treat people, how we love people, I think you were saying earlier, living a life that matters. Going back to one of the questions, am I loving them? Am I sharing the gospel? These are some of the questions we have to wrestle with today that you get to answer. So make the most of it. Be intentional because there's urgency to the gospel, knowing that the second coming is coming one day.
Come on. And,
Yeah.
yes, and if they don't take hold of today, don't expect it to take hold of tomorrow. Because we always put it off.
Yep.
And if we keep putting off living the life that we were made for, guess what? You'll get a habit of putting it off and not living and saying, oh, that's in the future. And then you'll never actually live the life that God has for you.
Right. That's good.
And I think that's actually how we can help people find Jesus. If I genuinely believe this, then I help people find it by living a life that actually reveals it, and then using my words to help explain it.
Yep.
Dude, so good to have you.
Thanks so much, man.
Anthony, so good. This is the Full Vantage Podcast, and this is kind of the state of the youth part B,
Yeah.
and biggest crowd. So thank you guys for participating. It's an honor to be able to ask you their questions, and no, I won't tell you who texted those in, but they were hilarious.
That's awesome.
There's some funny ones too. I may have to share with you those later. So yeah, share this with somebody, listen to it, see what God has for you, see what this has for you, and reach out to us if you do have any more questions. Peace. Yeah, let's go.